Or everything's good?
Hello, everyone. This is the Triple Cross, aka Agbe Ben Ipap. So today is going to be a bit different. I haven't recorded for YouTube or for the internet in a while. I thought that we would do a session with Mr. Jose here, Mr. Taxton, and we would talk about the ascension process, pretty much timelines, waking up, ascension, and so forth. I wrote a couple of things down, so I don't have this. This is not scripted, so I don't know. I more or less know what I want to talk about, but the details, we'll see how it comes out. So, say hello, Mr. Jose Taxton.
Hi, everyone. Jose here.
Okay, so Jose, I wanted to speak to you in this format because of your recent experiences slash my own recent experiences and your remembrances, especially how you were able to tap into timelines, the AI timeline in particular. Uh, so you and I had a conversation just a couple of days ago about when is when. Let's just put it that way. When is when, right? You remember that conversation?
Yes, I do.
So what I want to do is refresh or go over that conversation again. So it won't be new to you, but it will be new to the audience. So it's not going to be the same exact word for word, but so the audience can understand. So that's how I like to do it. Let's just go over that conversation. So what are we talking about? So let's begin. We're talking about the trappings of the entire universe. I wrote. Now let's see. I want to just make sure that you're able to see my screen here. Let me present to you my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay. Word. Okay. Well, my screen is apparently is not showing. Okay. It's okay, people. The kind of document that I'm using, it's not allowed me to show my screen. The Word document on my screen, but it's okay. So Jose has to like use his camera back or turn his camera back just for him to be able to record himself. So thank you for your patience. Okay, so we're talking about the trappings of the entire universe, awakening in the ascension process. What I wrote down was, what was the question I have, the overall question that I have from this question was spring forward the details and the bigger picture questions. So the first question that I asked you originally, if you remember, Jose, was or is, what was the last significant or very important thing that you did?
And
So that's
that
the
day,
question. Let's begin with that.
that day,
So
or
today, what was the last significant or important thing that, you know what, excuse me. The question says, when was the last, today, tomorrow, 10 years ago? Just give me an answer.
last thing I did today, uh, I walked
So I said
downstairs.
significant. So significant is the key word. That was important to you.
Significant.
Now, does it even matter? How did I ask your question before?
You said what was the last when I'm in the car? What was the last thing you remember doing? And
Okay, all right, let's just stick to that. What was the last thing you remember doing?
um, today, um, going to the basement, walking downstairs.
Okay, so the last thing you did was to go to the basement. All right, so, all right, cool. So that was how long ago? How long ago did you go to the basement?
Say 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago. Okay, are you sure it was 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, yes, I'm sure
Why? How?
because that's what I felt like. Well, that makes sense. time, like this. Well, if I were to look at
I
my watch and look at the time and what it said, and it's
if you look at what? Excuse me?
if I were to look at my watch or the clock on the phone,
Uh-huh.
it's
Uh-huh.
let's say it's 3 o'clock, like saying, and then I walk downstairs and 10 minutes pass. It's 3:10. It's 10 minutes. 10 minutes pass.
Okay. So you know that the last thing you did was to walk downstairs because you have a memory of it.
Yes,
And you have a memory because you have a watch on or you're looking at a clock and it was 10 minutes ago.
yes,
So it was 10 minutes ago and you're having an experience, the watch or the clock. Did you say watch or clock?
both, both, because I have a clock on my phone and the watch.
Okay. Fair. So you looked at your clock, you looked at your clock, and it said that so 10 minutes ago, you went downstairs.
Yes,
So the clock exists. The
yes,
clock is real.
yes.
Is reality real?
Well, no, no. Reality is not real.
All right. So what's the saying? Einstein said reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Are you fully aware of that to be an absolute truth?
Yeah,
Or is this
it is an absolute. I'm aware.
so there's a statement that reality is an illusion, although albeit a persistent one, is true. It's not an opinion. It's not your opinion. It's not my opinion. It's just how existence works in terms of this lockdown universe. I just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
Yes,
Okay, so Einstein, the celebrated scientist, said that reality isn't what we think, albeit a persistent one. So our DNA, our sense of perception, are set in a certain way. Correct or no?
yes, that's correct.
So what we perceive to be a physical world isn't really a physical world. Correct?
True.
It is our limited senses. Our senses have been reduced to be less than 1% to perceive things. We're perceiving because our intelligence has been limited. Our DNA can only perceive about, according to science, less than 10%.
Yeah, you can say blocked off. Yes,
Blocked off. Okay, use your words. Blocked off. So this experience, as we are having now, this interview is happening, correct?
yes. Well, because I'm talking to you, so I can perceive it. Yes,
But is it happening in a way that we think it's happening in the physical world? Is it really physical? Is that really happening in the
no,
way that we think it's really happening?
no.
Okay, so reality is physicality, the physical world, hard things and walking through ice, snow is not really the way. So nothing is physical in the way we perceive it to be physical. And we are beams of light in this world and in the next world and so forth. Do you understand this so far?
I do. Yes, I do.
And okay, all right. Just want to make sure because different people are going to be at different levels. So because we need to keep going. So if that is the case, then how do you really know that it was only 10 minutes ago that you, Mr. Taxton, Jose, walked downstairs to the basement only 10 minutes ago? How do you know? If this world is not real, how do you really know? How do you know that it wasn't an implant? That your memory, that the matrix is very complex. How do you know that they didn't put you in a timeline? So certain things to be clicked in at a certain levels of awareness or things to be triggered. How do you know?
You wouldn't be able to. Um,
Are you asking me a question or are you answering a question?
no, I'm thinking about the question, but I'm answering it because when I'm saying it, but I'm thinking at the same time. Like
Okay.
when you look at it, like from my perspective, when I look at it, if you were to ask me that question, and I'm thinking in my mind, well, you wouldn't be able to because like how do you know what's real if nothing's not physical? And so how do you wouldn't be able to tell? So that means you don't know if even if you said you walked downstairs 5 minutes ago, because time doesn't really exist, you wouldn't be able to really tell if that was really 5 minutes ago.
Okay. All right. Can we just interrupt you for a second? You said time doesn't exist. What does that mean that time doesn't exist?
Well, okay. Well, time doesn't exist in the sense that, like, okay, let's talk about when I talk about okay, for me, for reincarnation, I time doesn't exist in that for me in that sense because like I remember certain memories of my past life and I remember certain memories of what's to come in the future. So for me, like time, it's not like if you were to ask me in the past what if time is how to explain time, I wouldn't really know how to explain it. I would just say that it doesn't exist in the sense that um, I look outside and it's morning or if it's noon or if it's night because I see things differently because when I remember my memories from reincarnation, it taught me that time is illusion because you can be old, but you can think as a kid. You can be young and you can be very old inside. It all depends on what the soul remembers and how much you have inside, the tools you have inside to put the pieces together. So that's my outlook on it.
Okay. All right. Can I give you my let's look at another way. Time. I'm trying to, as we speak, trying to add the pieces together. That's why I'm asking these questions. So time, we said time doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. I mean, what is night? What is day? It's all a matter of perception because night is a lack of light. You turn off the light. Literally, you can have little light, and then turn off the light, and then you don't have. So if you turn off the light, then you have darkness, right? So when the light, so that could be literally physically turn off the light, or literally inside, lowering the brightness of your light inside. If you lower the brightness of your light inside, then you see darkness in a way of speaking, or then you descend into a state of suffering. And so that's one way of looking at it. So I'm looking at it overall. Okay, now let's go into details a little bit. Now, a little bug in my face. Uh, if you look at the fact that clocks and watches are just something that are fabricated and they're not real to begin with, they're not physical things to begin with, and it fits back into the whole big picture understanding of reality as an illusion. Reality as something made up, it's not real, right? So understanding that, it's all like a setup, a stage with props. You have the moon, the light shining. You have the sun. The morning kicks in and evening sets in. It's all props. It's a stage, right? So if you look at it in terms of made up stage, if you look outside, for instance, if you look up in the sky and you think you see stars, you don't really see stars. You just see a decoration of that which they want us to see. because really the world isn't really round. Well, it looks round because we've been told it looks round because we've been told it's round, and because there's a big dome on top and a big dome on the bottom. So even if you know the world is flat, really is flat, you can still get trapped in thinking that it's really round because of the extra trickery. So I don't want this to be like we might have to split this video. Okay, so it's just the conversation is fluid and let's see how it goes. So let's just go back to the point, because the last thing I asked you was how do you know? See, what did I ask you overall? The big question: how do you know that it was really 10 minutes ago? And I said your memories could be implants, or that you could be messed with. And if you're not messed with, let's just quickly squeeze in an absolute here. Okay, there are certain absolutes in life. How do you know that your memories aren't messed with? How do you know anything for that matter? Question for you.
You don't. It all depends on what you can remember, or what the level of awareness you're at. So
Okay, so stop. So you can. Whoa, I didn't hear you.
I said it all depends on what level awareness you're on, or like where you're at. But generally speaking, you wouldn't be able to know. Like if you haven't taken certain steps, you wouldn't be able to know if your memories were tampered with.
Okay, all right. Okay, so in other words, the only way to know anything with absolute certainty is that you're light inside.
Yes.
You're that part of you that isn't lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're light. When you lie to yourself, you know, dude, it's not that complicated.
It's like your intuition.
Unless you are an empty vessel, okay? Listen, even if you're being lied to, even when you're being lied to, you know something is off.
True.
You know something is off. Okay, so part of the reason why I want to do this video is because this hit me hard. And this whole thing about when is when, that's basically what we're talking about. How do you really know when is when? You know because the light is communicating with you. Your light is communicating with you. I mean, you may not know with absolute certainty in your mind because it's easier to control the mind / play with DNA, but you could always play with the light as well. But the pure light, it's more difficult to mess with it. You can't mess with source consciousness. Absolutely, no, you can toy with it, but it will always tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So now, so you can know certain things to be absolute. So nothing is like left to, oh, it's my opinion, it's your opinion. Dude, wake up, right?
Yeah.
So, so certain things can be known depending on where you are, as you said. Now, okay, let's just, if we can go in a little bit, if your DNA was messed with to be smoothly, so for you to transition from one of your timelines to be flipped on, so you wake up and like, and especially if it's minute, if the differences between this world and the next frequency, world frequency, in this world and the next frequency were to be so similar, only a little bit different, then you really wouldn't know, or you have to be like an elite source player to really know the difference. Because the level of that is going to be so minute. So this whole thing came about because I don't think I mentioned this. That came about because I kept having this. This has been going on for years, where I was like, I had that thought before, years and years and years ago. And so what I perceived in the last couple of days was the same level of awareness of like, oh, I had this question, this doubt about what really the timelines. Okay, are you living one lifetime? How do you know something didn't happen 1,000 years ago? You're so sure it happened only 10 minutes ago. Okay, The only way to know that is when your light inside, you can connect to your light inside. Otherwise, you wouldn't really know. You could be toyed with. That which you think happened 10 minutes ago, that which you think happened 100 years ago, could have easily happened a million years ago. If you think about I don't know if you've had an experience where like, wow, I just had this memory. It felt like this happened yesterday. It felt like it just happened
Yeah.
today. But
Yes.
then, but that experience happened years and years ago, or perhaps that experience happened during your childhood.
Yeah.
So how is that possible? It's because time isn't really real. Time is nothing but a decoration, clocks on the wall, and decorated by a fake sun. The sun isn't real. We're not spinning around in a universe. We're stationary. So there's so many lies. And these things, part of the reason I want to talk about this is because we have to become a little more, well, we have to dig deeper into the level of trickery, the trappings of the universe if you want to go home. When I started waking up, I asked myself, how is it that now, because you tapped in, right? You tapped in and you were able to figure out that not a lot of people go home, not a lot of beings in your. What was the percentage? It was like a few percentage points.
It, it was between 2 to 3%.
Okay, so to
It's very low. Not
to
a
the
lot.
3%, to
So
the
not
3% of beings returned to source consciousness in the universe.
yes.
So we're talking about human beings. We're talking about so lights. So the totality of what is considered universe, because paradise, source consciousness, la fuente, la source de tout ce qu'il existe, okay, is outside of the universe. Because what people call it universe is just merely a circle. I know listen, I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, but I have been able to tap into this, and this is 100%. The universe is like a circular thing, a circle, like a circle in the middle of infinite space, and we're locked in. Okay, so in order to escape and leave that universe, we have to know what the hell is going on. We can't be complacent with, okay, I understand reincarnation is real. You got to go deeper. So that's part of the reason why, the major reason why I'm sharing this information. Other than, well, annoying Inky and Enlil. Anyway, let's move on. Listen, I asked myself a question. How is it that, as you said, 2 to 3%? Are you falling asleep?
Nope. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay. I know you had some kombucha before we started.
No,
You're doing fine.
I'm okay.
You're,
Trust.
you're wide awake. You know, I see it. Um, do you remember when I asked you? What did I ask you? I asked you if you remember any significant thing, anything that blew your mind, that like mind blowing, that changed the direction of your life completely. And you were, what was your answer? What did you tell me?
Um,
It was school, right? Wasn't it?
yes, it was school that shook my outlook on life. The end of my school year, I was
High school.
high school, ready to graduate, and I was at the end of the hallway, second floor, and as I looked at the door, I felt like shit was going to hit the fan, and like I felt like I was screwed. Like, they lied to me, uh, and that right there, like I felt like I felt like I hit a low. Like I never saw the world or teachers the same way ever again, or like what I thought. Like I never saw things the same ever, and it kind of made me different. Like
Okay. So it was school, and that affected uh, you going to college and your performance in college,
Yes,
correct?
that was one of the
All right.
things.
Okay. So there are things that blow our minds. We might wake up to understand that we never needed protein. Protein is a myth, a creation by the system, and that protein doesn't really exist. That is, we what we call protein is just merely description. And so you might say, okay, well, if everything has protein, then well, I can pretty much eat things, certain foods I can avoid. And of course, then you say, all right, so somebody might hold himself or herself back and say, well, if everything is alive, well, because eventually it's going to lead to everything is alive, then how do you know what to eat? That's a cop out. And I'll say that's a cop out because you know you're not in heaven, you're in hell. Because you're in the matrix, you're in hell. And so you're not expected to be perfect. You do the best you think you can. So knowing something like that, so your mind is blown, you stop eating meat, or something else happens, your mind is blown, you understand that the world isn't really physical, or your mind is blown and you understand that the world is really flat, with the added uh, entrapment of the domes to make it look uh, round. Whatever it is. And then one day you keep getting messages and messages, and I don't know. For me, um, I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it. I don't have all the details, but I'll tell you. I think what's happening. Okay, this is what I'm sensing, and I'm going to trust my light. I'm sensing that it's not just about reincarnation. Really, what is reincarnation? We see reincarnation. Okay, reincarnation is as part of the grand entrapment, and I've spoken about reincarnation many, many times, right? Uh, Reincarnation can be tied into when is when. When did this really happen? Okay, this happened 10 minutes ago. This happened 50 years ago, a million years ago. How long have you been alive? Right? You've been alive, wow, one life to live. Really, is that really the case? Or maybe there's more to it than just maybe there are more twists and turns to how this whole thing works. And I'm here to say that there are twists and turns to how the Matrix is played. And it all has to do with the timelines. When is when? When is when? You think it happened 10 minutes ago? You think it happened 50 minutes ago? Well, you better be sure that when you felt that answer, you felt it deeply. Otherwise, keep an open mind, because it's going to be very difficult to get home. When you know, you know. It's not that you know when you know. Okay? There's no more questions of doubt. At this point,
Yeah.
I don't know all the details, but I'll tell you this for sure. There are twists involved here. There are twists. They're playing with people's memories. They're uploading information, or playing certain things will kick in at certain times. And even the whole thing with so especially with the reincarnation, what really is reincarnation? You die and then you come back again. Well, what if it's more than that? What if it's you're just taking off that particular timeline? Okay, that timeline you're taking off, because what is true? Perhaps you know that there are multiple timelines, that you have multiple timelines depending on how you know that your life can be divided into many parts. You know the world isn't real. You know that it's not real in the way you've been told. So therefore, anything that's not real, you can make anything up. And if you're making anything up, okay, let's go back to an important point, and a very important point that I almost forgot. Right, your memories have been toyed with, especially as a source player. In your case, you, Mr. Taxton, who you are, we both know who you are, beyond the physical. but sometimes you're still struggling with who you are, where within source you came. And I keep reminding you that the mistakes you've made, you must surpass, right? Okay, so the important point is, if you've been toyed with, you wake up in one body. So you go to bed with this body, the present body, your present body, and you wake up in that body. That's normal because it happens and over again.
Yes.
But if the memories, implants, or adjustments are set so fine-tuned, so neatly set up that you wouldn't be able to perceive much except for the doubts in your head through your light, if they're set up like that, then, well, you could be on a different frequency. You can wake up in a different body. You can wake up as a reptilian. So I ask you a question. How many bodies do you have? How many bodies can you wake up to?
Multiple.
Multiple line. Yes. So, okay. So even if you said one body, all right, so let's say you wake up to one body or multiple bodies. So you die here, so-called death, and that's only a part of your light. And they set it up such that you are in, it's not really death, it's just like they put you in a different dimension or a different body through their manipulations.
I think because you're internal, you can, if you can reincarnate, right? That means, and if you know you're internal, you can have multiple experiences. So if you can have multiple experiences, you can have multiple bodies. It's possible.
Okay. All right. So you wake up in a different body. You wake up in a different physical body. Let's clarify that. You wake up in a different physical body. Thinking, well, this has always been, because the programming is so fine-tuned that you barely notice the difference. Maybe your diet is a little off, so then you're like, you're living with cognitive dissonance. You're able to perceive the thing that's off, and what actually is, and you're just like, but you're not. Your mind, you're so programmed, hypnotized, that you don't take the doubts seriously enough to explore and get to the bottom of this. It might take you a long time, a while. That's basically what cognitive dissonance is. You're able to see two conflicting things and really just accept them both as they are and not really do anything about it. So you wake up in multiple bodies. The next body could be in a worse world. You wake up in a world that is full of so much violence, or they use, I don't know, they use CERN to shift the frequencies a little bit. So what we're experiencing right now as the coronavirus perhaps wasn't meant to be for our timeline. I am guessing. I'm guessing. I'm not saying it's an absolute,
Okay.
but it's a possibility. Because to me, it seems like this whole Corona thing just like came out of nowhere. Because they've been trying with the pig. Well, they had over the years, our timeline. Over the years, they had the system, the controllers, the government. They had like the swine flu and the bird flu, but not to the level where they shut us down.
Yeah.
People didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And they know people didn't take it seriously. So all of a sudden,
people don't take this seriously.
All of a sudden, for the coronavirus, it's taken so seriously when people didn't take the swine thing seriously and things like that. I don't know. I'm just asking. Something isn't making sense. I don't think we're in the same frequency that we were told. Something is off. That's what I think. But going back, so what is true is that they can shift you from one dimension. And so what we were calling a past life is simply a continuation of a natural progression of things, of existence. Let me ask you a question. Let me just put it this way. Let me put it this way. You're walking to the store, okay? And let's say it takes you 30 minutes to walk to the store. 30 minutes to walk to the store. And on the way to the store, 10 minutes into the store, you stop. You have to stop, and you can continue anymore. You never made it to the store. I don't know. There was an accident on the road.
Okay.
Somebody was trying to deceive you. Maybe you found a nice girl who say, "Please, take baby, come to my place." I don't know. I'm making it up, but you never made it to the store.
Okay.
So it was just from your house to her house or to whatever that point is. And let's take a little further. Let's say that you made it to that girl's house and you had so much fun that night, and you're like, you die, and some beings on the other side said, "Dude, did you enjoy that lifetime?" You're like, "Yeah, I did." Would you like to do it again? You're like, "Yeah, man." And you're so hooked on repeating that lifetime that, dude, it might take you a few million years. Like, oh, dude, and then it's gonna take pain to come out of it because you're addicted to whatever that girl had to offer. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But anyway, so it is a natural thing to go for you to continue walking. So reincarnation, in the sense of speaking, isn't real because it's just one huge experience. It's like walking from point A to point B. You walk from point A to point B, and you just walk back. That's not really, you're not really doing. All right, so people are, the people who are from point A to point B are set in a certain way, and so if you come back, the experience is going to be similar. So it's not ever the exact same experience, right?
Yeah, it's always going to be different.
So reincarnation is really like you're not really someone new. You're just given, like, you have a new vessel, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if you're going to, let me just summarize. If you're going to escape this grand game, you have to know the minutes, or at least the not the minutes, but the big picture, and then connect the major entrapments. I don't know. I feel like at least this point, the whole when is important, because how the hell do you go from the third dimension straight to source consciousness? I'm talking about me, because I asked myself that question now. And how do you do it taking a few people with you? How do you do it as a group? Let's say a group of 4 or 5 beings. Well, you can't do it, because you can't do it unless you are on a path, an unbending path. You know precisely where you're headed. You're going to be detoxing that freaking body. You're going to be in pain. You're going to be depressed because you're trying to take out that freaking parasite.
I see.
Because you are on a mission, and you take it seriously. Okay.
Honestly, I don't.
And I think that's, listen. Otherwise, it's almost nearly impossible. And you yourself said 2 to 3% return to source.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying here is, when you get these things that are coming up over and over throughout the years, like, that's a bit odd. I came from inside. Well, is source trying to communicate with me? Is my source trying to communicate with me? You got to pay attention, because the way the timelines are set up, it may seem to you like long, but to them, it's just a program, and they're going to be taking you through worlds of pain. And anyway, you're going to say.
What, me?
Yeah, you were saying something.
I said, honestly, like, I can't even remember, like, source felt like. I don't. my what I remember, like I don't even remember how I even got there or how I was there to begin with. It's 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 not it's not clear to me. It's not known to me. Out of all the experiences and everything I remember, I can't. It's just too much blockages for me to tap into like what the final dimension really looked like, or how I end up, how I felt from paradise. I I can't recall, and I've been thinking about that. Like even when you spoke about like um reincarnations from point A to point B, like I had images, like I saw myself walking through a tunnel, like I could see the footsteps, and I look back, see like different scenarios, but then it's like I can't go back, and then I walk forward and I see different scenarios, but it's continuing. It's not ending. Like when do you come to like the end, like, of reaching home? Um, uh, yeah, continue and even yeah. So continue and then yeah. That's all I have to say now.
Okay, so so you don't remember, and I was once told, um, remember how difficult it was even for you. Those were the exact words from my source. Remember how difficult it was even for you to shake out of it, to break from the shackles of the mind, soul, the spirit, whatever. So hell is no joke. The Matrix is no joke. There are twists and turns and entrapments and trappings. Just when okay, you wake up and you think, oh, reincarnation. I'll go to the next world. I'll keep ascending. But in reality, in actuality, you need to delve into the details a little bit to be able to see the bigger picture. Because it's not. Listen, even if you're an elite sports player, this is not something that is easy. It becomes easy or easier when you begin listening to your own source inside. So, um, the controllers, could you, you know what? Let's let this video run as long. Just do one huge video. See, some people don't have the attention span of more than 20 minutes. That's too bad. Maybe they don't like what they're watching, but hey, let's keep going. Let's, if you can give me an example. You spoke to me before about you tapping into timelines where you were messed with. You were programmed, and a specific example was they ask you, there's I don't know if they used to use that name, but do you remember where you are? I saw the picture in my head when you asked that question. So when you said that, they asked you that question. You
So
can speak about that.
yes. So when you talk to me uh, about in the car, and I had a recall.
Okay, make sure you're speaking close to the phone, please.
So
You're breaking up.
when you had the conversation about um, this topic about you think 5 minutes was 5 minutes, but what if 5 minutes was 5 billion years ago, and I was like I felt like something in my chest, and I felt the light inside shining. And I'm like, oh shit, no way. And my brain was like, it couldn't, it was like glitching, overload, overload. and then I saw timelines opening. Like one of them said, Jose, they're hunting us down. Remember who you are. You're being hunted one by one. Protect yourself, and then see you on the other side. Then there was another one um, when I saw uh, I was being dissected. They was dissecting my brain, and they was putting programs in my head. And then there was another timeline where they was experimenting on me, and they said to me, "So Jose, where are you? And do you remember where you are? Do you remember who you are? Do you know your name?" And and then they said, "Do you know what this place looks like? Do you know what this feels like? Can you describe to me what this feels like, Jose? Do you know what's real?" And I would fail the test multiple times because every time you fail, and they would dissect me and test me again to, for me to pass the test. And they did they run so many tests on me that I was so exhausted that I there was one point that I lied, so they would stop running tests on me, and I said yes, I know where I am, because they wanted me to answer the way that they wanted me to answer, not what I know, but it's true. And so when I passed the test, they took me to another level of programming me and dissecting me. And they did this over and over and over again. And as I woke up, like, what do you remember, Jose? Were you here 5 minutes ago? Is this new to you? What's my name? What is your name? Do you know what this looks like? Do you know what this feels like? And there's like different levels of tests they run on you. And I remember, if I would go back a couple of days ago, I made a video about creation, and all night, like, I couldn't sleep. It was like things visiting me. Um, I can recall the dragon visiting me, and Inky and Leo, and a couple of other beings visiting me. And I can recall how before you even enter this world, there's there are things that are worse than death, and like it's not a joke. There was a machine that was created, and they what they would do is they will push you through the machine, and the machine would like rip apart your soul, and it would reform the soul to a certain degree. It was like it was genetically altering the soul, and you'd be screaming inside the machine, and I was screaming in the machine. I said, please, please don't put me back there. Please don't put me back there. Just turn me into a rock. Turn me into anything, the tree. Just don't do it. I don't want to go. Please don't send me back there. I don't want to go there. And they just push you through the machine. When they done pushing you through the machine, you become a whole different person. They have a machine that can alter um, your perception. They have a machine that can make you evil. They have a machine for anything. You know, I like they even have technology that can turn you into a rock. Like, and I rather prefer, when I was seeing like how I was screaming and suffering, I said, please just turn me into a rock. I'll do anything, just turn me into the rock. Please don't send me there.
Okay,
And then,
wait. When you said turn you into rock, I mean not literally a rock, but your vibration, your light will be so reduced that those who are perceiving you might perceive you as a rock. It's all perception, correct?
yes,
Okay.
because the type of pain that they're going to do to you was nothing compared to being the rock. Okay, at least I didn't have to feel that level of torture. And that's why I accepted that fate, but they pushed you anyway. And then I remember, like, they have technology where they implant memories in your brain, and they implant thoughts and programs for you to see it a certain way, or think a certain way, or perceive a certain way, so you don't know who you are. And as I remembering, they kept doing this over and over again. And then I was sent to a different timeline, remembering when I was a kid, but in a different life. And then I was brought back, looking at the dragon. The dragon was looking at me scared, and I was scared of the dragon. Like, we were both scared, but the dragon was scared of me. I was scared because I knew, like, these beings are not something, some these beings are not things that you would want to challenge. Like, you don't want them on your doorstep, because when they come to you, they want to kill you. And this being was there, like, biting. This being was shitting itself and biting its nails out of fear. And I started
Tail. You said tail before. Nail or tail?
nails, and then the tail was in its mouth, so it was biting his tail, and then it was chewing on his nails, looking at me in fear. And I was like crying because started crying because the pain I was in, but I also was crying because I knew what level of pain was coming to the dragon. And I told the dragon that it's okay. Like, and I said to myself, it's okay. You can heal too. And then other beings was in the room trying to stab me in my eyes. And there was beings with white cloak was trying to give me something. And I am remembering how just to enter this world, what they've taken from me, like the level of torture, what I've lost, the pain, altering my DNA, killing anyone that I loved in my past life, and so on and so forth. Anyone that got close to me, they took away. They altered their way of perception, their DNA, the women in their life.
Can we pause there for a second?
Mhm.
Okay, so again, the overall theme is to look at the timelines and to talk about when is when. Now, let's go into the second part. This is going to be this, and we'll wrap it up with the second part. But basically, you're talking about DNA, programming. We're going to use the words programming to be synonymous with hypnotizing, hypnosis, okay, to have you think a certain way. I don't know. The word distraction also just came to me. So distractions, programming, DNA, it's pretty much all connected, right?
Yes.
So the reason why I want to make the connection to the second part here is because I think understanding this will help to heal. Words can be powerful when they can be perceived at a deeper level beyond, the sound frequency can heal. So those who are perceiving this at different levels should be able to help them. Reprogramming DNA. Every day we come across people who are a certain way. Have you ever heard somebody say people don't change?
Yeah.
Okay. You yourself say that. I myself say that people rarely change.
Yes.
And why is that people really rarely change?
It's their programs in their brain.
The programs. People are programmed. People are, first of all, the DNA is set in a certain way to think a certain way. Okay, if your DNA is set a certain, first of all, okay, so the overall DNA less than 10%. And then you have the repetitive sounds used to corrupt or to maintain that low frequency that we are experiencing. So you have many things. You have sound, you have, well, sound, television, visuals, and so forth. So let's think logically. And I say logically because for a reason. There are different levels of logic depending on where you are. Logically speaking, when you know that people are programmed beyond this world by beings outside of this frequency, call them whatever you want to call them. When you know that people rarely change, from that perspective, isn't it logical to expect people to behave a certain way?
Yes.
And if you're expecting people to behave a certain way, isn't it logical for you to behave a certain way as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you are also programmed, then you will behave a certain way as well.
Sure.
But once you begin to undo the programming, then you can expect to behave better.
Yep.
With that said, programs are already in place, and it's very difficult for people to change. Isn't it logical to expect bad things in hell? Isn't it logical from that level of awareness to expect people to be off?
Yes, indeed.
Going along. So in that sense, I'm speaking to you as I am speaking to myself, because this is something that I'm working on now. I'm not by any means saying that I have overcome this. I am saying that this logic is helping me to push aside feeling a certain way, feeling low energy. Somebody wrongs you. Somebody gets upset at you. Somebody pisses you off because of what he or she says. Could we please go back to the programming, the logic that we are aware of at that level? Shouldn't you expect it?
Yeah.
If you should expect it, then why are you getting upset? If you know that really deeply and you have changed yourself enough, you have done enough dieting, shouldn't you work on yourself? Maybe you need to do more with like fasting. I don't know. Can't you stop a low energy?
Yes, you can. You can. Yeah.
So logic 101, logic by itself through the ascension process can bring peace. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Now, from personal experience, this happened a couple of times where I perceive myself catching myself and stopping myself. There's something I'm working on. But the higher you go, you begin to understand how Source is doing this. How is love possible at such an extreme? You wrong someone for trillions of years, and the person turns around and helps you anyway.
Yeah.
And Source turns around and helps you anyway. That's insane.
Yeah.
From a limited perspective, that's insane. That's insanity. But from a higher perspective, it is only logical. But from a higher perspective, the higher and higher you go, of all the things that exist, only one crosses all barriers. Love. And love is not complicated, though we like to think it's complicated. Love is simply improvement. It's not that complicated. People stop making it complicated. You made an improvement. You were at point A, and you sincerely went to point B, and you're no longer putting this in your body, or you're no longer, you're fighting people 30% less. That's love. That's a degree of love. People want to make things complicated. I am this, I am that. It's not that complicated. So from source consciousness, from the very best perspective, as I'm understanding now, if you asked me years ago, or even a year ago, why my highest self would have made a decision to come, or how whatever, why I make such a decision, I would say, you know what, I'll have to find out later. But I'm beginning to understand. And the other day, I took my Mapacho medicine through my nose and spit out what I can, and swallow that bitter plant medicine to take out parasites and to cleanse. Often, as you know, the other night, I had this exuberating feeling, like, of all the things that exist, because I was like, oh, okay. For the first time, I said, okay, this is how it feels like to say you would die for somebody. And I said, damn, I would die for source consciousness. And I'm not talking about my source consciousness, I'm talking about that which is totality, la fuente, la source de tout ce qui existe. The best part of you and the best part of me put together. Of course, the understanding, the feeling lasted only that night. And the next day it went away. But at least I maintained the memory of it. But so if I can, I know that we'll go into details a little bit here. Let's go back to the second part of this conversation, which was logic can heal us, and will help us to ascend, which is to look at things logically from where you are, and then you go higher, you look at from that, you keep going and using, because anger, the higher and higher you go, makes no sense. So you want to, diminish it the more and more, the higher and higher you go. And eventually you'll be able to become such a Superman, such a master of whatever, that you understand that it's hard for negativity to it's like you just like off. Do you okay, let's not get into that. So I think I was going to say something else, but I don't. Okay, yes, I would say this. You were saying, you were telling the beings that were visiting you that it's going to be okay. So I would say, okay, all right, it's going to be okay. And then the totality of what exists in the trillions and trillions of years to come, whether or not some of them make it out in 1,000 years, 100 years, or millions and trillions of years, however long it takes. Yes, everything is always okay in the end. So the question is, how long do you want to keep playing this game? So that's the question. What we're trying to do, source players, we're trying to do, though it may be difficult for darkness to accept. We're trying to ease the pain. We're not trying to. This isn't about revenge, or this is, you did this, you tortured someone for 1,000 years, so you have to pay for it. No. If you learn your lesson, if you clear up that darkness, then there's no need for you to suffer 1,000 years. Maybe it'll just be for like 500 years. And if you were going to suffer for 1,000,000,000 years, maybe it'd just be half that time. So we're trying to alleviate the pain. Okay, so because let me make the connection. You're bringing up right, your face?
Hello?
It's difficult to see here, blurring a little bit here. Okay, turn your phone. Okay, good. Yeah, yep. It's just like, okay, whatever. Let's just hurry up here so that I don't lose the connection with you. Okay, so please say the second part about improving, so that we can end here. Now, you and I were talking about, you get what's coming to you. Whatever, there are consequences to our actions. If you do something cool, there's a consequence of something nice. If you do something uncool, there is the outcome of something uncool waiting for you eventually. So, do you remember our conversation about that? Okay, so
Cause and effect, like about
yeah, yes,
the
cause and effect.
like the, let's say, the laptop, right?
Right.
So the laptop, you mistreat. Okay, you have a laptop, you mistreat the laptop, right? You pay money to get the laptop, whether you use credit, because you destroy the laptop and you destroy your credit, right? Now it will take a couple of years for you to build your credit, and because you need to use the computer, the information, you don't have the tools, and you extinguish more energy because you need to gain back what you lost. So it might take more time.
Okay, just stop. Something's happening. Are you moving around and where you are?
Sorry.
It's like your face went from being clear to like a blur.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So I think we need to end this before I lose a connection. So you were giving an example of a laptop. So you did something. You messed up your credit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me synthesize, since it's hard to hear. You messed up your credit, and in order to fix it, there's certain things you have to do. You screwed up, and there's certain things you have to do to make things right. So what I was hoping you say was something to the effect of what I asked you about when people do you wrong, and you moved on. Let's say somebody did you wrong, somebody stole money from you, and you really needed the money at that time, and maybe it took you 10 years, a time period. You needed the money within the 10 years, but eventually 10 years passes and you no longer needed the money because you figured something else out. And the person who took the money from you, who stole from you, comes back and gives you the money. And then the person thinks that this is making it up. No, you can't undo it. You remember me saying that. You cannot undo a wrong.
It's true.
Okay? You can't undo it. You can't come back and say, okay, here's the money. Well, I needed the money then, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I overcame my problem, finance problem. So this money isn't really going to give me much.
Got it.
Yeah, this is the same what we spoke about. So basically, you can't undo a wrong.
Sure.
The only thing you can do is live your life in a positive light. So the person who did the wrong or did that which is off, the best thing for that person to do, okay, you lost your network. Wow. Is this
What happened?
It says your network connection trying to reconnect. Okay, okay. I don't know if it's still recording. Maybe this isn't an accident. I don't know, Jose. Jose,
Yeah. Shit.
hopefully.
Hello? Okay.
All
So
right.
you came off.
All right. So
Hello?
yeah, I can hear you. I'm just hoping that it's not recording over. I just wanted to summarize. Okay, so show your face. Okay, you're back to natural. So I just want the last thing that we were talking about. We were talking about the fact that you can't undo a wrong.
Yeah.
And I was trying to say that the best thing you can do if you're the person who did the wrong, if you're the person who did committed whatever or screwed up, if you're that person, the best thing you can do for the person you wronged, or yourself for that matter, if you wrong yourself, the best thing you can do is to live your life in a positive light, is
Yeah.
to improve. Because when you improve, you make okay, it's like source. Okay. So if I improve, let's say you screwed me and I improve and I say, okay, no more. I had enough of that abuse. I'm not going to allow that to hurt me anymore. I'm going to move on to the next level. So if that experience comes around again, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to avoid it.
Yep.
And so I get to that point where I'm able to avoid that. I'm able to just push it aside and not choose that experience.
Yes.
And you come back to me to apologize, to make it up to me. You say, okay, well, I did this wrong. I'd like to make it up to you. I'll do this and correct it. You can't correct it. You can't correct it because you already screwed up. And I've moved on. I moved on. Some people may not have. Let's focus on those people who have moved on. Those people who have moved on are not necessarily going to benefit, as I was saying, from you coming back to make it up. So the only thing you can do is improve yourself. When you improve yourself, they can feel your vibration. They can feel your positivity.
Yes.
And through that positivity, they are happy because
Yeah.
because 1 + 1 is always 1.
Yes.
Because nothing the universe is not. Anyway, I think I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Do you have anything to add before we
Um,
start?
no, no. I agree. Um, the more you improve, the more you see that everything is connected, and if you made mistakes, I think the best way is to improve fast, clean up your act quicker than later. Don't wait till things get really bad and then change. You did something wrong, even if it's very difficult for you to control yourself to do the right thing, do it anyway and hold on to what's good inside and don't let the negativity outshine the light. So it's like propel the positivity in you to shine bright and stop holding on to the negativity that binds you and keeps you stuck.
Okay, cool. That's a good note to stop on. Thank you for doing this recording. I think what you and I should do once things calm down is perhaps do that. We did remember that we wrote a book. Well, I did the dialogue. Remember the nutrition project that we were working on? We were having dialogues, and I was writing everything down.
Yes.
We got to get back to that eventually. There's too many things happening with them trying to take you out, trying to take me out, and the recent car accident, right? Anyway, people, enjoy your break, your Christmas break, or whatever holiday you're celebrating. And make sure you rest, come back strong. Source consciousness, people.
Bye.